All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Joe.
Good afternoon, Sam.
How are you doing today, sir?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. So, over the weekend, in the political space, Mr. Pete Obi and Pakwanso,
Mm.
they all left ADC to NDC.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something you have given more like a foresight on previously on previous episode that we had. So we are here again to get your perspective on this move.
Yeah, you see, we have predicted some of these things because we are all, as humans, we are all products of patterns. And the best way to predict the future is to examine the past. But, like I mentioned at the beginning of this entire arrangement, is that the purpose of these videos, these conversations, is to ensure that we bridge the gap between misinformation, between ignorance, between fake news, and the facts, the truth, the substance. I operate on the social media, so I'm aware that young people are very much energetic. Their political awareness is becoming heightened. They are conscious, kind of. However, they are operating largely from the substance of their contributions. You will realize that they are operating from the position of ignorance. Therefore, this platform is supposed to ensure that we fill in that gap, because many nations have gone down on the account of false information, on the account of falsehood. So that is why, in approaching Peter's movement to NDC, I will not be as harsh as others that have contributed to this conversation. I will try to give him some benefit of the doubt on why I think there are some positives even in this careless, nomadic political lifestyle. And the first positive I'll pick, or maybe the only positive I'll pick there, is in Peter leaving the ADC, knowing fully well that he's not going to win the primaries, knowing fully well that the ticket is most likely going to go to a northerner, Atiku. For me, he has managed to achieve the fact that he's making a bold statement that the Igbos shouldn't always be seen as second class. He has managed to make a statement that we are not only good as running mates. We are not only good as spare tires. We are not only good as second option. In the First Republic, Nnamdi Azikiwe was ceremonial president. That's even worse than being a vice president, because you have no role. At least the vice president today will still chair the economic committee, economic team of the presidency. You have no role than maybe Independence Day, you wave, you shine teeth, you host dinners, you join them in banquets. You have no role. While Awolowo was trying to work out at a southern consolidation, a southern coalition, a southern collaboration to ensure that if the South comes together as a bloc, they can challenge any other bloc in the country. Azikiwe was, having his own arrangement with Tafawa Balewa and the Ahmadu Bellos of the First Republic. Nnamdi Azikiwe was from Onitsha, Anambra State. Correct? In the Second Republic, again, the Igbo was seen only as second option, only as spare tire. Alex Ekweme was vice president to Alhaji Shehu Shagari. Alex Ekweme was from Oko or Oko. Pronounce it. Anambra is a town in Anambra State. Anyway, Okeho. I think I'm using my own Yoruba dialect to pronounce it. But Oko, Anambra State. Another Igbo man as a spare tire. In the Third Republic, however short that republic was, while we had a southerner flying a major ticket, we had a northerner flying another ticket, MKO and Bashiru Tofa, respectively. An Igbo man again was only seen as a running mate. Sylvester Ogu. Sylvester was from Afikpo, Ebonyi State. In the Fourth Republic, no major political party had a Southeasterner flying their ticket. And it was the argument I was making in 2022. It was the argument I was making in 2022 when I went to LTV8. I said, the PDP owed the Igbo nation a debt of reciprocity for that zone's loyalty to the party since 1999. Southeast had always been given the People's Democratic Party their block vote, 100%, regardless of who the PDP is presenting as their flag bearer. I argued that the Southeast didn't need to beg because they have worked for it. They have labored for that right. It is theirs for the taking. But the PDP betrayed the Igbo nation and they again went against convention to give article. Peter Obi, by leaving the ADC, had proven that no, the Igbo nation would not again be taken for a ride and support us. And then when I get there, if I'm leaving, I will support you. No. We must build a nation that no tribe, no zone, no ethnic group, no interest should feel inferior to the other. If it's southern turn as convention demands, ADC shouldn't even be considering to throw their ticket open. They should have zoned it to the South ab initio. Let Obi compete with fellow Southerners on the tickets. Throwing it open, you have already presented a fait accompli against the man. So in that regard, I commend him. However, there are concerns. If this was a random Igbo man, that argument would have been fully valid and would have stopped this conversation there. But this is Peter Obi with antecedents. I mentioned that human beings, we are products of patterns. And we cannot discuss any individual in isolation. We have to discuss that individual along, considering the compendium of his actions since ever. Now, the first thing which raised concern is Peter, in moving again from the ADC, has declared clear lack of ideology, clear lack of principle, clear barrenness of convictions. And this is the reason. He says he is not desperate. And you see, when you lack these three things, you are bound to be a monument of contradictions. You say you are not desperate, yet only you have been in 3 different political parties in 4 months. Late last year, December, he was still in Labour Party. He moved to ADC at the turn of the year. Now he's in NDC. 3 political parties in 4 months. If you then trace his history, you will realize that even since 2022, everything he claimed to be his guiding principles to why he wants to be president, he has gone against them. In 2022 was when he said church should take back its country. Church, take back our country. It was that same time where the call leaked when he called Pastor Bishop Oyedepo, and he was compelling the man to speak to the Christian community and convince them that he's the candidate of the church, because that election, according to Peter Obi, was a religious war. He threatened to sue People's Gazette at the time. He hasn't done that till now. And meanwhile, in any case, Bishop Oyedepo had confirmed that such call actually happened. Now, the same man who was telling the church to take back your country, in few weeks after then, he was seen with a very major bandit apologist. I won't mention names. A sympathizer for terrorists. Peter Obi was seen hobnobbing with him. Now, is there flying a ticket giving permutations of him and a Kano politician. But that Kano politician today had been fingered by the USA as being one of the sympathizers or financiers, or he has interest in terrorist activities. The same man who said church to take back their country. It was the same man that was seen every Ramadan season joining the Amajiris, trying to drag Ramadan iftar with less privileged children, trying to see or to sell himself to the Muslims as not being adverse to them. But you were telling the church to take back your country. So what is really the defining principles of Peter Obi? Should church still take back their country? Because he said that at the time because Buhari was in power, a northern Muslim. Tinubu was flying the APC ticket, a southern Muslim. So he was speaking from the position that, look, Muslims have dominated the polity. So the church should now take back their country. But now you are hobnobbing with the same Muslims you declared as enemies. What is desperation again? Define desperation. Now, he criticized the Buhari government, all true. He criticized the APC administration, all true. However, while he was in ADC, he was seen in bed with the major players of that same administration. Isn't it? The Malamis of this world, the Pantamis of this world, trying to see how we can leverage on the same people you declared criminals. Structure of criminality. You declare them criminals. You said they are the destroyers of this nation. Now, you, the builder, what are you doing with the destroyers? Monument of contradiction. There's an old interview of his flying around now where Peter Obi condemned politicians who switch parties. He condemned them. Have you seen the video? Where he said it's not appropriate, it's not, Same Peter Obi has changed parties 6 times. 6 times. Monument of contradiction. You see, you are either a politician with principles, with convictions, with ideology, or you are a political harlot. What Peter Obi is practicing is not politics, it's political harlotry, where you can easily open your legs out of convenience to the highest bidder or to where you know you will have it and you have an easy run. You can't build trust with a politician whose convictions expire at every election cycle. In his own case, there are multiple expirations within one electoral cycle. Now, the second concern is that the major reason, forget all he said in his parting shot that ADC has court cases, the ruling government is interfering. No. The spokespersons of the ADC spoke yesterday where he gave us the real reason. We shouldn't place. He left because he cannot win primaries. And bear in mind that Peter Obi has never presented himself for primaries. He has never contested for primaries. Never. In 2003, when he contested as governor, it was Ojukwu Ikemba who imposed him on the Anambra people. Correct? Yes, sir. In 2009-2010, there were court cases. So 2009-2010, even as incumbent governor, when he was going for second term, even as incumbent governor, Peter Obi hasn't built any structure for him to be bold and confident that he could win primaries. And Ojukwu was reluctant. Ojukwu was fed up with him. He was not going to present him for the second term. I guess because obviously he has doubled the poverty rate in Anambra. The people were escaping to Lagos, the capital. Most of the major newspapers at the time, it was the headline that Anambra had no capital, no viable capital. It was the poverty capital of the country at the time. Perhaps Ojukwu was fed up with such failures and wasn't going to present him. What did Peter Obi do? He did not even put up a fight saying, okay, let the party faithful decide my fate. I will contest. No. Peter Obi went with elders of Anambra, the Igbo nation, prostrating, rivers of tears flowing from his eyes, swamp of catarrh from his nose, begging Ojukwu, holding his legs, please, don't embarrass me. The man was conflicted. People see an incumbent governor crying. So reluctantly, Ojukwu imposed him again for the second term. Now, Ojukwu had barely settled in heaven before Peter Obi left Abga. The same Abga where he stood on the podium, on the campaign ground, to lay a curse upon himself and his career that he will not amount to anything of substance if he leaves. That he has pledged to Ojukwu. That day he was crying and begging for second term that he would never leave. He left. Now in 2022, again, when he saw that there were going to be primaries, and there were men like Atiku, like Wike, like Saraki, like Tambuwa, men of balls. Peter Obi being who he is, he knows himself, at least. You must credit him that. He knows that he's not forged for fight, he's not forged for struggle. He said it himself that anywhere there's quarrel, instead of trying to resolve, he runs. 2022 again, he left for Labour Party. Labour, he didn't leave for SDP when he knew there's an Adewale who would put up a challenge with him. He didn't leave for even AAC, where he knew there was a Showore who would not be bribed or who would not be bullied. Correct? He left for a party he knew those there are ready to surrender to him at a price. He paid for the ticket. The news are everywhere. Now, again, he has won. Now, when we create this analysis, I have seen Obedience try to respond to us saying, didn't Tinubu also move from SDP to AD to AC to ACN to APC? That's why I said this platform is necessary. Passion must be guided by information, lest it becomes destructive. And I sympathize with Obedience because Peter Obi is not making their job easy. Because they were trying to defend him in ADC. While he moved to ADC, they were already registering, right? Some of them were already aspiring to be House members, House of Representatives aspirants, right? Then before they settled, you have left. So they have to find somehow to defend themselves and, save face. But let's lecture them. You see, in the First Republic, there were parties like AG, NCNC, and the likes, correct? And maybe NPC. NCNC was formed by Macaulay. That was the party where Zik belonged to. AG, Awolowo, NPC, Ahmadu Bello, correct? You see, when the First Republic fell and military took over, all those parties ceased to exist. That's the first thing military does. After suspending the constitution, your political parties must rely on the constitution to function, isn't it? Now, once that constitution has been suspended, your freedom of association has been suspended along with it. So you cannot be gathering under the auspices of politics. That was why when I visited late Pa Ayo Adebanjo, he was trying to prove to me that Afenifere was registered as a political party. He showed me the registration. It was supposed to be a political party. But he said after the military took over, they had to then convert it to a socio-cultural group because they couldn't meet as a political party. They would be breaching the decree. That was why when Awolowo would contest again in the Second Republic, there was no action group anymore. What we had then was UPN. But it's the same ideology, it's the same principles, it's the same fundamentals. But the name has changed because this is a different republic. So it is folly to say, didn't Awolowo also move from AG to UPN? Please. Let your parents be proud of paying your school fees. Don't embarrass your destiny. It's the same thing with Ashwaju. All those that contested in 1992, 1993, that was the Third Republic. When IBB refused to concede that election result, when they annulled the election, thus collapsing the Third Republic, all those parties ceased to exist. That's why by the turn of 1999, Tinubu, by the way, contested as a senator, ran as a senator. He was a senator under SDP, correct? That's why at the turn of the Fourth Republic in 1999, there was no party called SDP. The SDP we have today is not the SDP of then. The SDP we have today is a clone, right? There was no SDP in 1999, sir. What we had was AD. And there was no AD in 1992. Correct? So Afenifere, those that believed in the Awolowo's ideology, those that followed the Awoist philosophy, those that consider themselves progressive, formed the Alliance for Democracy. Correct? Where Asiwaju joined them in forming. That was no defection. He joined them in forming. In any case, if I will add, in that Third Republic, those parties were not formed organically. They were military formed. The military formed the SDP a little to the left, the other party a little to the right. So you cannot even consider those as real political parties because this did not come from democratic arrangements. It was the military that imposed those two parties. You will remember, if it was a democratic arrangement, Yar'Adua was supposed to flag the ticket of that party, of SDP. Do you recall? The IBB government banned him from contesting. I mean, how you ban an individual from contesting? Well, because these are military parties. So in 1999, AD emerged. Asiwaju amongst those that formed it. In 2003, OBJ's government, PDP, came to the Southwest and bullied our leaders. The Oshobas of this world, the Lamadetioners of this world, the Bisi Akondis of this world. He tricked all of them, maneuvered them to ensure they all lost their election. Today, when they say OBJ is a Democrat, tell me how that is democracy. Because they had an arrangement saying, look, support me for president. We will not present candidates for state gubernatorial elections. And the AD politicians, those elders, they believed him and took his word. After all, he's one of us. And they said, okay, let's support him. Then you rigged the PDP governors, you rigged all of them in those respective states. It was only Asiwaju who warned at the time that this is a trap. But Asiwaju was a young man there. What would Asiwaju say when the likes of Baba Abraham Adesoya was speaking? So, by that manipulation, AD became a shadow of itself. We have lost 5 states in the Southeast. The leadership was in turmoil. Now, the convenient thing for Asiwaju to do at the time, if he was someone without spine like Obi, was for him to move to the PDP. There we roll out drums, red carpets to receive him. Governor of Lagos. Lagos at the time when Asiwaju had spent 4 years was like a nation on its own. OBJ declared that election in Lagos do or die. He was going to win it with all he had at the time. As Peter moved from APGA to PDP, the ruling party, because he wanted to be minister, Asiwaju could have gone to PDP and demand whatever he wanted. They would give him, even if he was going to run as running mate. We didn't. What did he do? Knowing that the AD had been infiltrated and it has collapsed, he built his own party, the Action Congress. He built his own party. If Peter was going to replicate that, he would have built APGA to something of a national appeal. Now, AC began to win back the states one after the other. But when AC began to win states beyond the Southwest, it has moved from being a zonal party to a national party. Therefore, Action Congress as a brand is not sufficient to describe the scope of the party. They then added N to it to indicate that, okay, Action Congress of Nigeria, this is beyond just a zone. Correct? And in 2014, to prosecute the 2015 election, that ACN entered into alliances with other parties, a proper coalition, the one these ones are trying to emulate in failure. The CPC joined, the ANPP joined, and they contributed the names, and then we had APC. It has been one party since 1993, one ideology, one philosophy. You present that as a response to us saying Peter Obi is a man without spine, who cannot put himself for a contest, who cannot stand for competition, or who only want to present himself as a messiah where every other person must bow before it. No. Even when Elijah, after calling fire from heaven and after stopping the weather, tried to brag that he was the only prophet yet to bow to Baal, God corrected him. No, there's no messiah There are other 700 yet to bow to Baal. Do not consider yourself too important. You are not that relevant. If you are not here, somebody else will do it. Right? Even Jesus, the real Messiah, stood for an election. You know, he faced an election before Pontius Pilate. When Pilate said Barabbas or Jesus, Jesus lost the election now, and heavens did not fall. He lost the election. The people voted for Barabbas. And God did not come down from heaven to intervene. You are no Messiah. Leaders must have spine. Leaders must be principled. Leaders, you see, in this particular tenure, the election that brought Asiwaju in, was it by any way easy? Was it by any way convenient? The man almost lost his life trying to become president because everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Buhari was trying to insist on consensus, just like ADC is insisting. You know, Buhari met with governors and said, look, all you governors, you guys usually anoint your successors. Also give me that privilege. Then he was trying to impose consensus. Asiwaju said, no, let me go and test my popularity. The chairman at the time even announced the then Senate president as the consensus as Buhari's candidate. Tinubu said, let's meet on the field. And that popular address to the party faithful, when he told the party people, let's prosecute the primaries. If defeat meets me, I will return home head unbowed. Ṣùgbọ́n màá ṣiṣẹ́ tí mo lè ṣe dé, I will spare no effort in the matter. Ibi tí mo dẹ̀ ti ṣe dé lẹ́ni, as it stands today, ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀, be at peace. But Obi, in his own case, said, once there's trouble, he flees. And even if it takes me to changing parties changing to 20 different parties, I will do it. No. You are disappointing your followers. You are making the job difficult for them. Tinubu stayed all through the cash scarcity, all through the fuel scarcity, all through the manipulations. The Villa supported Atiku for the 2023 elections, all through it all. Asiwaju stood and said, if I lose, I would rather return home than flee. Leaders don't fly. Leaders don't take flight in the face of turbulence. No. You must stay there to resolve. You must stay there to ensure that, okay, things will not always go your way. And if they don't, you don't have to flee. Support those that will benefit from the system you have jointly built. Asiwaju stayed 15 years out of power before attempting to be president. He could have contested 2007. Evans will not fall. They had the resources. He could have contested in 2015 or at least insisted to be running mate. Right? And Evans will not fall. Last, the party will lose, but at least he would have contested. He waited his time. He bided his time while strategically building political alliances. Thank you.